let's finally close out this journal so I can put it away. But here was my cover page. I went ahead with like a pinup and butterfly theme, and you'll see a lot of butterflies throughout this journal. And I'm sure that you've seen pretty much all of these spreads, but I'm going to go through every single one of them. Here is my kind of me at the beginning of the year, the things I liked, the colors that I enjoyed, the characters that were my favorite at the time, and this is my Goodreads goal. This was my year in pictures. It's kind of hard to see with the glare, but I took a selfie every single month. This month I forgot to take it on my Polaroid, so I took a picture of my camera, or on my phone picture, which turned out a little weird, but that is quite alright. I just really enjoyed seeing the progression of me over the year. So this page was my vision mood board, and looking over at it, I did focus on tarot a lot this year. I did do some writing. I did take some Instagram photos at the beginning of the year, but I kind of fizzled out with book photos. I did go on a trip, did not make it to Disneyland. I've collected some crystals. I've had movie nights with friends. And that's kind of friendship too. I don't think I held hand with any of my friends, but that's okay. And I don't think I really walked at all, like ever, except for on vacations when we were walking, looking around and stuff. But I feel like a good chunk of it really did come true. So these are my 2022 goals, and I did fill in kind of the ones that I've done or partially did. Did not get a tattoo just because I couldn't really afford it. Did not dye my hair because I ended up changing my mind about that. I felt like my natural hair color really worked for me. I did go on a trip. I did finish the Mistborn trilogy. Did not try therapy or walking very much. I kind of half filled in the complete a 40k story because during Nano I did write about 80,000 words of the fanfiction that I'm posting, but the story is technically not complete. It is at like 95,000 words right now, but it still doesn't have its final chapters, so it's like partially completed, but I definitely finished more than 40k. I did get a job, and then I got a new job. I haven't created a product, and I do not have 2,000 in savings. I decided that I'm not going to go back to school for the foreseeable future. I just don't think that's really the path that I want to take. And I did not purchase as many books from Amazon. I did purchase some, but I definitely prioritized my bookstores as much as I could. For creative, I looked back and realized that I finally do have a video more popular than the hating game, which was my walkthrough of this journal actually. And that made me really happy to see a video that was finally above that hating game rant review, because that was not my favorite video I've ever made. I have not yet reached 2,000 subs on YouTube, but I'm very close. I'm a ways off for the 1,000 on Instagram, but that's probably because I didn't really post on that very much anymore. Just here and there, I kind of fizzled out on posting a regular content schedule on there, but maybe I'll try again this year. I didn't complete Vlogmas in the way that I envisioned it, so I didn't cross this off, but I did do a Vlogmas with friends, and that was one video every week, which I did complete, so in a way I did kind of finish this one, but my plan for this was to do the everyday until Christmas posting, and that did not happen. But I did get monetized, and that made me so excited. Here were my stats for the year. We're just going to go over the first two. So I started at 935 subscribers on YouTube, and I ended at 1,642. I posted 97 videos last year, but I posted only 68 this year, and that was because the beginning half of the year I wasn't posting very much. My most popular video was the hating game rant review last year, and it was the walkthrough of my reading journal so far, which was my July bullet journal video, and that made me so excited to see that I can not have this one as my most popular. My Instagram followers went from 322 to 458. This was my favorite photo I posted last year. I just really liked my outfit and the book that I was holding. And this was my favorite this year. I just really like the colors and stuff and the Christmas decorations in the background. My Goodreads friends went from 126 to 157, and I didn't really use Twitter at all this year, so I went from 83 to 87. So it was really fun to kind of look back and see what my year looked like and how much growth I had, because there was quite a lot of it, and I'm so thankful for it. Here's my books read, fics read, and books graph all completed. And I will just tell you that I read 4,815,123 fanfiction words. And when I averaged it out, I don't remember how I did the math, but it came up to about 19,260 pages. And when I also did the math for that, at about 350 pages, let's say, is an average book, I think it came to about 50 books. So I read basically about 50 books worth of fan fiction throughout the year, which was really cool because I do really love fan fiction. And I would say about 95% of it was Buck and Eddie from 911 on Fox. So that's pretty funny to see. Here is my A to Z challenge, which I did not complete. I was going to use author last names, but ended up not really going through my list and seeing if I did complete that, but that is okay. This was my color challenge that I did finish pretty early on in the year. I just filled these in whenever I read a book that had that color. This was something that I tried to track like the first half or so of the year, what month a book was published in, but it ended up being kind of complicated to figure that out, especially when you have a different version on Goodreads than the original version. It doesn't always tell you what month, so I just stopped tracking that after probably July or so. Over here was the zodiac signs, and I was trying to like find characters that matched that, but again, I didn't really use this as much. And these were all of the months that I did not post a fan fiction, but I did finally post one in December. I'm just not gonna share the name here, but I did post one. So that made me happy to actually finally use this spread that I was hoping to use all year. I just wasn't really writing until I got to November and I started posting in December. Here are my TBR pages. I went ahead and filled in red for all of the books that I did not complete in the year. So there's that page, these two, and then we move on to my 5-star reads. But at the back, I have more of my TBR that we can get to once we get all the way back there. So there's more unread books that you can look at. 5-star reads. At the end of the year, I kind of ran out of room. I wish I spaced this a little bit differently, but these were all of my 5-star reads in 2022. And I genuinely still think about so many of them. Like, I cannot stop talking about the Miss Wern series whatsoever. And A Lady for a Duke just like lives in my mind all the time. This was just a page where I had some stickers I wanted to put somewhere, and you'll see a couple more pages like that in this journal. So these were my January spreads, which were a stamped tree and pine cone winter wonderland theme that I really enjoyed doing. I want to use more stamps in my future bullet journals, so I'm going to be doing that in the future. Here were my February ones. I went for like flowers and butterflies. You'll see a lot of flowers and butterflies. I really enjoy those. But I really liked how simple and cute these ones turned out. They're very pink and happy, and I like them a lot. Especially this page. I really like how I did this. I think this was my best book club spread as well. I loved these March spreads, but they hurt my hand so badly. They were 70s themed, and it took me so long to do these ones, and this page in particular was so difficult to draw. The circles and the movement of my hands were just awful after a while, but I really loved these 70s inspired spreads. And let me tell you, Song of Achilles has some of the best quotes in any book I've ever read. They were just so good. And this was my wrap-up page. I loved it so much. And then we go into April, which was another butters and flower. Did I just say butters and flowers? Butterflies and flower theme. And then I use these like die cuts of bees and moths and flowers and whatnot. I loved that my butterflies matched the tarot cards that I pulled afterwards. So I put these why do I keep calling them the wrong thing? I put these butterflies down first, and then I drew tarot cards later, and the colors matched up, which I thought was very coincidental. So these are the April spreads. I also really liked how I did this, where I cut out different pieces and kind of tiled everything together. April was definitely one of my favorite spreads that I did. May, I kind of went very simple, needed to get them together in a couple of hours or so. So they again were pretty simple. I started to follow the same pattern of my TBR, having my tarot spreads, a calendar with the pictures I plan to take on Instagram, a mood tracker, a wins of the day, my book club and my wrap up. So you'll see those types of spreads over and over again. I really just liked having them there, but after a while I will say I did kind of get bored of that. So you'll see a little bit different in my new bullet journal. If you want to watch that up here, I will have that linked for you. June was my birthday month, so I went a little bit heavier with the things I love, like the moon and space and stars. I had a lot of books I wanted to read in the month. My tarot, I did a bigger spread for myself just because I was really getting into it and starting to understand the cards a little bit more around this time. This was some pictures with friends and some dogs that my friends have, and I got the silliest pictures of them, or a kid took them for me. This was a day with my family, my cousin, who's basically my best friend. My moods, that was the phases of the moon. I loved how that turned out. My wins of every day. Book club and wrap up, and this is where my wrap up started to fizzle out a little bit. I would only fill out a couple of them. I would forget to really do anything for some of them, but you gotta learn what you like and don't like in bullet journals. July spreads. Whew, I did not want to do them. I threw them together so fast, so they only are these 2 pages. But I actually kind of like how simple they look, especially these like checklist and the color coordination of it all. So they look better than I thought that they would, but they were definitely put together very hastily. August ended up being another one of my favorites, more butterflies and flowers. I read a lot of books in August, and I don't think this was even all of them. This was kind of hard to make because I had to cut it out, but I was measuring things and whatnot, and it still wasn't perfect, but I liked the idea of it. The execution wasn't perfect though. My book club wrap up, these moons, I wish that I covered them up and redrew them, but that's okay. And again, you'll see my wrap up starts to have a lot of things missing. These are definitely my least favorite. These were my September spreads. I was trying to go for like a holographic theme, and I got some vinyl that can go over the pages, and this one bubbled up, and that annoyed me so much. I tried to put stickers over it to hide that, but oh, it makes me so sad that I messed up there, but it is what it is. So I think my biggest issue with this spread was the color scheme. I wish I wouldn't have gone with this purple paper that I went with, but it is okay. It's just not my favorite. I do like my tarot spreads for this one and how I kind of separated everything out, but this one, oh, I do not like to look at it. Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. This is when I went to Washington, D.C. before I got COVID there and had to stay at my cousin's house. But these were the fun things that I got to do for the few days before I tested positive. So I documented them here. Here was my wrap up. I did fill this one out, which yay me. But I love these October spreads. These were my Halloween vintage inspired ones that I took all of these pictures off of Pinterest. None of them are my own, and I just collaged everything all over the place, and it looks so beautiful. I really love these. I did a readathon in October, and I used this like Dutch door style so I could see all of the book covers and I would know which of my bingo prompts they went for because I had them in the same order as my bingo prompts. It helped me out so much, so I highly recommend doing that if you ever have a bingo board for a readathon, to make it Dutch door style, or even just do the bingo on one page and then the page behind it have the books that you're planning to read for it. It was just so much easier to cross everything off and fill in the Google forms that they wanted you to fill out. Here was another readathon I was trying to do. I only ended up filling 3 of the prompts for that, but that is quite all right. And here were my moods and moments. These were like my favorite moments of the month, and I tried to do icons for my moods instead of colors, and I really liked how that turned out. But I don't think I continued on with the moods and stuff going forward in this journal. My book club and favorites, just like all the other pages. And then we go into November, which was Taylor Swift inspired. So I ordered Midnights and got these confetti stars and wanted to put them somewhere that I could keep because I don't really need to keep all of the confetti stars. That being said, I think I still have them smart in a baggie in my room, but I don't know where. But I didn't really read. I think I read 3 books in November and only one of them was on my TBR. We're just here to talk about the cute spreads though. So I wrote some of her lyrics all around here and used some stickers of the moon to represent Midnights. And I like how it turned out. It was super simple and I just liked being able to write down some of the song lyrics that were really resonating with me after that album came out. This was super helpful and fun to do. So I was doing Nano in the month, and I really liked being able to come in here every single day and track my progress, but then I ended up writing way more than I thought I would. So I ended up not finishing this graph at the end because it would have probably been all the way up here because I hit over 80,000 words, which was awesome, but I didn't really allot for it in this graph. And over here was kind of where I was keeping track of the chapters that I was writing and every scene that I completed, so it would keep me really motivated to check things off. So I made it all the way through chapter 9 during Nano, and then I've finished up through chapter 11 actually, and then deleted 13 and 14 from my plans. So it's just chapter 12 that has not been finished. But I really like this. I highly recommend doing something like this if you are a writer. It would be very helpful to keep track, I think. Here are my book club spreads, and this is where the wrap-ups were really struggling. I only decided to write down 3 things that I actually wanted to fill out, and that was all for that. I love these December spreads. I wanted like a vintage vibe going for them, so I went back to flowers and butterflies. But they're purple flowers and butterflies and green flowers and butterflies, so it's different, right? Here was my TBR, and this is where I realized that Belladonna was kind of matching up with my TBR, and so was Little Woman. So it's like these 2 books subconsciously inspired these themes, and I really, really like how these turned out. These purples and greens together are just so pretty. Here were my tarot spreads. I love this book, but I did not write anything about it until almost a month after finishing it, so I could have probably filled this in, but this was me writing what I could remember well after reading it. But I really enjoyed this book. And here was my wrap-up. Again, I started missing a few things, but I filled out a few more than I was in past months. But now we're close to the end of this journal, so let's just finish it out. We have the rest of my TBR here. And you can see I haven't really read a lot of my new books, and that's because they've just recently gotten onto my shelves. My Goodreads goal, I got all the way to 136. I thought I was at 137. I can't really remember actually. I need to double check that, but I know I for sure got to 136. So this page is just where I put all of the fortunes that I got from the fortune cookies I got over the year. I just didn't really know what to do with them. I saved them and then figured that they would look cute in a spread. It's okay, not my favorite. And here are some stickers that I bought throughout the year or got in book boxes and stuff that I wanted to put down. Because to be completely honest, I didn't know what to do with a lot of these wrapped up spreads. Okay, so for this page, my intention was to write down what my TBR was at the very start of the year and then what I got down to at the end of the year. I have a question mark here though, because I bought a bunch of books between the end of the year, but they have not shown up, so I didn't want to really count them towards this TBR. But my TBR was very skewed on Goodreads and everything, so I'm just like really guessing here. So I did a lot of math, so we're thinking that I ended on 115. I don't really know how I got that number. I can't really tell you. All I know is that I read 137 apparently books. I DNF'd 11 books and I unhauled 13 books. And then somehow I got 115. You know, I don't know what I was doing. I filled this out at 2 in the morning, so we're just gonna ignore that. I had intentions. It didn't work out. That's okay though. But these ones were correct. The longest on my TBR was The Handmaid's Tale. I can't speak. The longest on my TBR was The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. And newest on, by the time I finished this journal, was The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. And then I bought like 25 more books. So it's not really the newest on my TBR, but it was for the end of the year, okay? These are some spreads I don't think I've shown you before, but I did go ahead and print out the cover of all of my favorite books throughout the year so you can see what my book wrapped looks like. And over here, every wrap up that I wrote a favorite song, I went ahead and put into a playlist on my phone and then took a screenshot of it so you can see all of my 2022 songs that I loved, which was 14 songs and amounts to 49 minutes. This is kind of where I did the end of the year me, pictures that I took of myself that I liked, my favorite ship of the year. I finished the Goodreads goal. This was my Sim self that I used for a Sims Picks My TBR, some of my favorite books and stuff. So I feel like this kind of represents who I was by the end of the year. And you can just see the difference from here to here. It's still similar in some ways and different in others, and I really like that. And then we get to some random pages where I was trying out different sizes and spacing. A grid spacer, some stickers that I got in Washington, D.C. and other places, and some other stickers and my friends and family that I took pictures with. Here was my swatch page, and that is my entire journal. So thank you for coming along on my journey of bullet journaling last year. It was so much fun to do. I am really excited to be already in my 2023 journal. Let me know if there are any spreads that you loved seeing in this one, and if you have any ideas for themes that I can use in my 2023 journal. That would make me super happy. But if you want to talk to me about books, you can find my Instagram and Discord in the description, and I will see you in my next video, which will be out very, very shortly. All right, goodbye.